An overview of Canada and its educational system, written and directed by Karen Hurlbut. Let's begin by reviewing a little bit of Canadian history. The first inhabitants of Canada were native Indian peoples, primarily the Inuit. European settlers began arriving in 1497, and France had control of what was then called New France. England saw the value in the land and fought France for it in the 7 Years' War that took place from 1756 to 1763. At the time, the population of Canada was almost entirely French, but over the next few decades, thousands of British colonists emigrated to Canada from the British Isles and from the American colonies. In 1849, the right of Canada to self-government was recognized. Canadians debated since World War I on whether to have their own flag or to continue flying the Union Jack. Finally, the debate was settled and a flag was raised on February 15, 1965, and has become the most enduring symbol of Canadian nationalism since that time. Canada has been faced with a separatist movement in the predominantly French province of Quebec. The Quebec government passed Bill 101 in 1977, which established numerous rules promoting the French-speaking culture. For example, only French was to be used for most public school instruction. Many of Bill 101's provisions have since been amended, striking more of a compromise. Commercial signs, for example, may now be in French and English, provided that the French lettering is twice the size of the English. Queen Elizabeth II signed the Constitution Act, also called the Canada Act, in Ottawa on April 17, 1982, thereby cutting the last legal tie between Canada and Britain. The Constitution retains Queen Elizabeth as Queen of Canada and keeps Canada's membership in the Commonwealth. This constitution was accepted by every province except Quebec. Canada is formally considered a constitutional monarchy. While the Governor-General is officially the representative of Queen Elizabeth II, in reality the Governor-General acts only as the advice of the Canadian Prime Minister. As you can see, there are 3 branches to the government: executive branch, legislative branch, and judiciary. Let's now begin taking a look at the Canadian education system. Schools are funded and overseen at the federal level, provincial and/or territorial level, and on the local level, with chief policy making at the provincial level. Education is available in both English and in French in most places, provided there are enough students in that area speaking the secondary language. Provinces are similar to states in the United States. They are separated into districts from which school boards are derived. It is the responsibility of the school boards to make local policy and to implement the standard curriculum set forth by the province. Alberta allows for charter schools that are not subject to the school boards. Canada does not have a federal Department of Education, therefore the 10 provinces and 3 territories are responsible for the organization, delivery, and assessment of education of the elementary, secondary, technical, vocational, and post-secondary levels. The schools and university year usually run from September to May. Canada generally has 190 school days in the year, except for Quebec, which has 180. Education in most instances begins with kindergarten. Junior kindergarten is available in British Columbia and Ontario, while in some areas kindergarten is either not required or it is not available. Generally, children are aged 5 when they start kindergarten. Government funding and the number of hours for kindergarten vary from province to province. For example, Ontario and British Columbia now offer full-day kindergarten programs. Elementary schools generally include grades 1 through 6, when there is a junior high school as the next step. In some areas, elementary school is extended through grade 8. Middle schools and junior high schools provide the transition from elementary to high school and encompass years 7 and 8 of the education system. In Quebec, elementary schools is grade 1 through 6, and students then go straight into high school. Secondary school, most often called high school, runs from 9th to 12th grade typically, but it varies from province to province. Compulsory education is usually up until age 16, but again, this also varies. For example, in Manitoba, education is compulsory up until 17, and in New Brunswick and Ontario up until 18. Most students continue education until they graduate in 12th grade. In Quebec, though, high school ends at 11th grade and is followed by a 2-year program that prepares a student for university or a technical field. A second senior year, sometimes called a victory lap, is often used in its place to strengthen the student academically before entering university. Students can attend either vocational schools or enter a university. At a university, they will first earn a bachelor's degree and continue studies to receive a master's or a doctorate degree. Vocational students will earn a certificate and diplomas that will attest to their skills in the various trades. Canadian universities are internationally known for their high quality of teaching and research. Language programs, English or French as a second language, are offered at middle schools, high schools, colleges, universities, and private language schools. School normally starts between 8 and 9 a.m. and finishes between 2 and 3:30 p.m. Uniforms are not normally worn except for in private schools. Young children who live further than walking distance from their school take a government-funded bus. There is not a national program for school lunches across Canada, but some provinces, for example, Newfoundland and Labrador, have recently implemented healthy school lunch programs in an attempt to address childhood obesity problems and encourage healthy eating. Now let's take a look at what it takes to become a teacher in Canada. Currently, in most jurisdictions in Canada, the basic requirement to enter the teaching profession is the successful completion of grade 12 and 4 additional years of post-secondary education that includes at least 1 year of professional studies in teacher education. Since there are variations to this basic requirement, candidates should directly contact the relevant certification agency in the province where they wish to teach. Provincial requirements vary in order to be a certified teacher. For example, to teach in Ontario's publicly funded schools, a teacher must be certified by the Ontario College of Teachers. Certified teachers pay an annual membership fee to maintain their membership and certification. Finally, let's take a look at Canada and the USA to determine how they are similar and they're different in their educational system. As you review, you can see that Canada and the US are very similar in our educational system. Thanks for viewing!